there's an art to being a DJ here, huh?
There is.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Wild and Precious Optimal Living Show. I am Dr. Lynn Tran.
And I'm Dr. Sam.
And we are so grateful that you've taken the time to be able to jump on. Now, if this is your first time ever, or this is your umpteenth time listening to our show, as you know, health happens by choice, not by chance. You have this one wildly intelligent and precious body that dictates the quality of your life. And on this show, we have candid conversations about how you can regain health if you've lost it along the way. We bring in really amazing guests, like the one we have today, Dr. Deborah Zeff, to really give you some ideas of how you can bring in different practices to improve your health, and it doesn't have to be difficult, right? And this is something that you can apply not just for yourself, but also for your family, because this is a journey that you move on together. And so, as you know, you go to the grocery store, or you personally are actively using essential oils, or perhaps you have a friend or a family member that loves it and they go through a specific company that sells essential oils. There's a lot of that. It's abundant. And we want to be able to explore today with our expert about how we can truly appreciate this form of plant medicine. And from those who, if you're lightly using it to just smell from the bottle or diffusing it in the air, or perhaps even consuming it, are there risks? Or what are some barriers? What are some things we just don't know about essential oils? And today we break through those barriers of aromatherapy with Dr. Deborah Zeff. And so we're super excited to be able to have her on to debunk some of these myths and bring in some truths. And before we get started with that, we'd love to be able to acknowledge Neural Solutions, our sponsor. This show would not happen without our sponsor, Dr. Crawford, Brandon Crawford, and Dr. Kyle Daigle and their team. They are amazing, and we actually are just buzzing right now as we came back from an amazing Neural Solutions conference this last weekend. So, Dr. Sam, what's your biggest takeaway?
Well, for anybody that was there, we all know that conference was absolutely jam-packed with information. We all left just completely overwhelmed might be a good word, because there was so much. But I think my biggest takeaway really had two. Was one, for us clinically in practice, is just more stimulation. We can be doing so much more with our clients. But two, really the power of light, the power that it has on the body. I mean, it really was encapsulated very well by Dr. Crawford when he was telling a story from the Bible. The very first thing God did was said, "Let there be light." It's an essential thing to life, is light. And it's there before anything else can actually come into creation. So light is critically important for health and well-being and for life to exist.
Absolutely. And then a big takeaway for me is just how versatile and how effective laser therapy is. There's a lot of great science out there, and essentially it's great for energy regeneration, healing, cellular regeneration. There are so many different uses we use it for brain training, for wound healing, for inflammation, and even people who have different types of symptoms. So there's a lot of great uses, but there is a company behind that is dedicated to educating their practitioners and their families who's using it. And you're not just purchasing an expensive tool and being left in the dust. And that's the big thing. Sometimes we don't use it because it's like it sits there. We buy something expensive and it's like, well, this is great, but how do I use it? And these group of practitioners are dedicated to their art. And what I love about it is they're not afraid to share, because the more we can share, the more everybody can make an impact. And that's the biggest thing that we all are doing. And I think this is a really great transition, because we have a powerhouse here, Dr. Deborah Zeff. She is a practitioner. She actually practices here local in Colorado as well too, in Centennial. And she's an integrative practitioner, and she is a powerhouse in the sense that she brings in a very beautiful feminine touch. From how I've interacted with you, Deborah, is a beautiful feminine touch, a nurturing touch that is much needed in our society of health today. And so, she's created this great program, which we're going to dive deeper into, but I want to turn the spotlight to Deborah and Dr. Deborah Zeff. If you can share more about who you are and, what you're passionate about, that would be great.
That is so beautiful, and Lynn, it's so great to see you again.
Yes.
You're looking fabulous, darling.
Oh my gosh, me too.
You know, my story goes way back. I was raised in Northern Ontario, and my dad was a trapper. And believe it or not, there's still trappers out there. And we used the land. We thanked God for what God has put on the land. And yes, I'm very much faith-based, and I believe that there's a higher consciousness, a Christ consciousness. And you talked about the light that you learned this weekend. That light is in every cell in our body. We have like 70 trillion cells. So if we can ignite that light and have that spark come back into the cells, then our cells can be healthier. And so with my dad being a trapper, we had to, pick up the formaldehyde, rub it in our hands, place it on the pelts so they wouldn't rot, and Dad could get more money for it. Well, Dad died very young at 69 with cancer from the formaldehyde. The two older brothers and sisters were also with cancer. They're still on this plane with us, which is nice. And so that led me to using the intuition that is passed down from a fifth generation Indian from Canada. And how do I figure out to put all of this together and follow what God has asked me to do? And for me, the very first time that I experienced aromatherapy, it was a negative. I had some very hot caustic oils dropped on my back, and I had a headache for over a week, and I wanted to figure out why. Inquiring minds. I've always been very inquisitive, and didn't always follow the intuition. And my first marriage was very abusive, and I actually ended up walking into a lake with my 2.5-year-old and saying, screw this world, I can't do it anymore. And God talked to me and said he had plans and that I would never be alone. And so from there, the ups and downs, the roads in life, the learnings and yearnings, as I like to call them, the experiences. I learned that, never will do that again. Or that yearning and that passion, I just love that and I need to know more. And so I followed the path of natural medicine since the 80s. And now when I have merged the massage therapy, therapeutic touch, master herbalist, craniosacral work, the microcurrent that ignites the cells in the body, the light that we use, the aromatherapy, when we just breathe it in, it brings that light. And when we combine breath, that God breathed into us, and the light, when he said, let there be light, then the body merges. And the aromatherapy is a tool. And that tool helps the cells determine which way they're going to go. And it increases the light within the body for healing.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. And so for our listeners, the first time, they may not necessarily understand some of the cellular aspects of what's happening when essential oils are actually mixed in with their breath. What's actually, we're breathing in a really nice scent, but it's not just like a fragrant candle that we're bringing in. There's something so potent. There's the intelligence when you talk about the light of the plant medicine of these essential oils. What makes these essential oils so potent, and what's actually happening at the molecular level for our bodies? What's happening for that to make it so powerful?
When essential oils come into the body, there's so many different adulterated oils. So I discovered during my journey that the oils that the person had used was too caustic, pure on the body. They were just too hot, and so it created a major headache. And as well as the oils were adulterated. So now, as a clinical aromatherapist, it's I want to see the chemical constituents of those oils, because those oils have monoterpenes and sequesterpenes, so they all have these different chemical constituents that helps the body heal, and it can be used in different ways in our cells, because it is plant medicine, because God created the plants, the essential oils come from the plants. So we bring back in that energy into our bodies, and we start looking at what is a good brain medicine if I've always have headaches, or I'm with insomnia, or if I have a virus. Viruses are good right now, right? How do we eliminate the viruses from our body? There's some oils that are great for bacteria. They eliminate the bacteria in the body because they're that potent. And what most people don't realize is that an oil is 100 times stronger than the plant. You can take a drop of essential oil and put it on a styrofoam cup. One drop will eat through the cup. So if you are taking that internally, and it's not with an emulsifier, and that would be like honey or fractionated coconut oil or some type of oil, a carrier oil, then the stomach is going to destroy at least 50% of that oil, and then the liver is going to be affected, as well as the kidney. So it may not happen over time, it may not happen right away, but over time, the aromatherapy is going to start eating through the chemical constituents, going to start eating through your organs and systems, right?
Wow.
So it's essential oil is beautiful when you use it perfectly, like in a diffuser, or when you are under a clinical aromatherapist, when they know what they're doing. Some of the training out there is atrocious. I've asked somebody, oh, so what frankincense are you using? And they said, oh, there's only one. And it's like, no, honey, there's 6. And one of them comes from a leaf. So frankincense serrata comes from a leaf. So which frankincense are you using? Is it Qatari? Is it Rivea? Is it, there's so many. So they look at me like I have a third eye, like, oh, I use basil to sleep. Well, which basil? There's 6 of them.
Wow.
Which rosemary? There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
So the clinical aromatherapist knows which ones to use. I've had people say, well, what about, I want to grow my hair. Aromatherapy lets you, helps you grow your hair back. It's like, yes, the rosemary, but you know which one? There's 4. So you want 1,8 cineol versus the rosemary verbena, or the Spanish rosemary with the camphor. Which rosemary is it? And so taking the courses or asking the questions, and if the person doesn't know, then they haven't been trained properly. Now, there's some courses out there that are a weekend warrior course. Yes, I'm an aromatherapist, or I've been doing aromatherapy for 12 years. I know everything there is to know. It's like, really? Wow. I'm writing a book right now, and it's like, I'm amazed at when I bring in my 50 reference books that there's actually contraindications for an aromatherapy oil. Like, who knew? Unless you read all of the books.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So Mike, so there's a few things that you're pointing out here. There are different myths, it sounds like, that we need to things that we don't know about essential oils, that we may potentially be using it incorrectly, that as a lay person who's not a certified aromatherapist needs to know about. And I know that you're going to share that today, so I'd like to break some of that down. And then also it brings into the tune that if you are considering working with an aromatherapist or becoming an aromatherapist, there are certain qualities to look for when you're working with a practitioner who is using essential oils. Because truthfully, Sam and I use essential oils too, and absolutely, honestly, not to the depth of what you're sharing right now. It's like you are this this master musician who knows even the refined notes in between the notes of essential oils, whereas a lot of people don't ever really think about the different species between, and just frankincense itself, right? We don't think, oh,
Right.
there's 6 species. I didn't even realize that. So I guess what we'll start off with is just one myth that I think we all think about is all essential oils are created the same. And you were just talking about how you're already pointing out it's not necessarily.
Right.
So perhaps you can speak a little bit more on that.
Absolutely. It's almost like I hear these people say, well, I follow Dr. So-and-so, and I have written many doctors who are on the internet who sell aromatherapy, and that you just have to become an aromatherapy coach, or you have to become and here's the basic information. And if you're going to guide anybody through it, that's a huge myth. If you don't have the training as a proper clinical aromatherapist, if you have not trained with the top 12, like Robert Tisserand and Rhiannon Harris from England, or Dr. Balzac, or Dr. Kurt Schnabel, or Battaglia, I mean, there are so many experts out there, I would say 12 of them. If the person has not been trained by them, then they shouldn't be training anybody. It's like train the trainer, right? That we talk about. So the myth of the essential oil is all created equal is total fallacy. And that's one of my pet peeves, like, oh, I just want to throat punch you. It's like, ah. There's my Canadian that comes out of me.
I thought Canadians were nice.
Right now, not so much. It's because people are misinformed, and they say, oh, my lemon, I'm told to put in water, and it tastes like a lemon meringue pie. Well, I'm sorry, lemon does not taste like a lemon meringue pie. It's because the chemical constituents in it has been adulterated to taste that way or to smell that way. Because lemon doesn't smell like a lemon meringue pie. I'm sorry, it doesn't. And there's different processes when they start bringing in the aromatherapy from that fruit or from that plant. And as an example, limes and lemons and grapefruits are usually done through, I can only think of the French word, APK. It's like needles that goes into the peel, and they crush it, but only the peel, not the fruit, right? They crush it and take all that, and so that grapefruit or that lime or that lemon is going to be sour. It's not going to smell like a lemon pie. And there's different constituents, whether they do through the CO2 extract or the cohobation extract or the steam distill extract or the APK one. Sorry, I can't think of the English word right now. But it's all about which one is going to be best for me, and is it adulterated? So not all oils are equal, because they all have different chemical constituents in it. And our cells have that innate intelligence that has absolutely that information from God as a collective, and we are a collective, right? We have that vibrational frequency, and so those essential oils come into our body, and if the oil is toxic or adulterated, then the liver has to store that. It doesn't get passed through, so the liver's going to work harder, even if you do it through the nasal passage, even if you're smelling it. So I prefer to make sure all my oils are, of course, organic when I can get them. Not all distillers are organic, but we test the oils when they come in with the GCMS, the gas chromatograph mass spectrograph. But it's also looking at what chemical constituents are in there. As every oil I get, it's like, now I want to see it. Because I want the constituent should be there if it's adulterated.
So that makes me think of several things. One, I think about one of the first essential oils my mom bought was a lemon oil, and it was blue. And I said, Mom, I've never seen a blue lemon before. And I said, I don't think you should be using this in any respect, whether you're smelling it or topically or anything, because that just doesn't seem smart. Who knows what they've added in here to make it blue? That was my first point with her. But two, I guess I can go down a couple different roads here. Asking, now you brought up this GCMS, I'm curious what that is and how it tests the oils, but I guess also leads to kind of our next question then. If you're not getting your oils from, the grocery store, Whole Foods, or wherever, the next thought is, okay, well then I'll just pay top dollar. I'll go join Team doTERRA or Team Young Living, and then my oils will be certified, whatever trademark certifications they have on there. So does that then circumvent the low quality problem?
No. You can get some really beautiful oils that are a quarter of the price of what some of the network marketing companies are selling them for.
Okay.
And it's what your source is. Have to remember, a company's in business to make money.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We're all in the business to make money. Are we in the business to harm? My job is to first do no harm. Even with the doctorates that I have in the PhD, first is do no harm. Okay? If I'm going to use an adulterated oil, I'm going to do harm to that cell. It took 30, 40 years maybe for my dad to get the cancer in the body.
Right.
And the body, right, we know that the cancer is normally a bacteria that takes 5 years in the body the size of a pinhead before we even realize what was cancer. And so over time, it builds up in the cells. I mean, after 55 years, I'm still pulling out formaldehyde when I detoxify with my sauna and my foot bath. I'm still pulling that. I could still smell Dad's trapped line cabin. And so after a while, it's like, where do I find the correct oils? And which oils am I going to use? And we don't need, I don't know, I think I have like 150 oils. We don't need that many.
Right.
But I blend for other companies to make a blend, a signature blend for them. They know that my oils are pure and organic and non-adulterated because I have a standard. And sometimes that standard is maybe a little bit too high. But is there such a thing, right? As an essential oil snob, I'm going to say that. I have higher standards. And so it's about where do we get our oils from? We don't have to pay top dollar to get a beautiful aromatherapy or aromatic medicine. We do not.
So that's another myth that we're breaking down. The more money I pay, the better quality that I get.
That is so wrong. I'm all about frequency. And if I want to be a high vibrational frequency person, I want to portray that to other people. Therefore, my light within my body has to extend. Our vibrational frequency, our morphogenetic field has to be big and large to attract those that are maybe not so bright, that have a little bit of darkness. Okay? So if I'm going to put an essential oil into my body and it has darkness in it, that's going to lower my vibrational frequency. And we know that if you are who you hang around with, whether it be friends, whether it be the work that you do, whether it be the oils that you use, if they're low vibration, you have to get rid of them. And it's difficult at times to get rid of those people who are bringing you down. And, I spoke with a guy yesterday, 70-something, doesn't have any joie de vivre. He has nothing left in life to do. He said, so why am I here? I said, well, obviously God has a reason, right? Because you're here. Just because you're tired and you're sore does not mean that there's nothing left in you, we have to bring the light. And with the darkness that is out there in today's society, with the anger, the fear, the frustration, we need to bring the light more to our liver, because that's where we hold all of those negative energies. So using an aromatherapy that is going to help the liver and share our light, then I think that's a higher standard than staying in darkness.
I think you bring up first one point that jumps out to me in what you were just saying is, here's this gentleman that you're talking to and he is struggling. It sounds like he's in pain, he's retired, and he's not really seeing a purpose to things. And I would imagine too that he's stuck in a pattern of a certain life that he's at right now that he doesn't know how to change. And
Correct.
so one of the powers that, I'm reminded about with essential oils, and even bringing in other aspects of integrative health, right? Even for us, in a sense of chiropractic, for you, it's cranial sacral, or the sauna, all those things, microcurrent coming together as you're bringing in modalities that help to heal your body as your body becomes more, as your body's adapting better, then your perspective and your perception of where you feel stuck in life starts to shift with that itself too. So that's one thing I'm reminded with you sharing that. And the other kind of leads into my other question is, that I was going to ask is, how, essential oils, if, the people who may not be tuning into this show or may not know the depth of what we know or what we're learning from you, is, can we just use essential oil for this? Something is better than nothing. There's a lot of toxins. There's a lot of toxins already out there, right? So our body's already loaded with
Yes.
all sorts of environmental toxins. So then my question is something better than nothing?
I'm going to say yes, but I shouldn't say but, because that means everything I've said before is null and void.
Right.
We have to ensure that we feel within our bodies that the aromatherapy that we're using is going to raise our vibration, right? Something is better than nothing unless that something has carcinogens, unless that something has, right? So it's about knowing.
Right.
And many people don't know what they don't know. They're being told something, therefore they know they don't know, but they don't have the energy, time, or means to be able to find out, I know what I know, therefore I can make a wise choice for me along the line. And it's always easier to search out an aromatherapist that has the right tools. And I have to say, I know some aromatherapists that don't have the right tools, like, you're still using that, huh? And how's that working for you? Well, I'm not getting the same results that you're getting with, whether we create a blend for mental health, whether we create a blend for a wound, or whether we create a blend for internal pleurisy, pneumonia, heart issues, whatever it is. All the oils have to work together synergistically, so you will not get the same results. So, is something better than nothing? Yes. But find one that is going to actually work with the body. I've met many people say, oh, I'm allergic to aromatherapy. Like, that's because there's adulterations in them. Okay? Have you tested on your feet before you even used them? Like, what did the aromatherapy do? Did it give a rash? Right? Oh, I'm allergic to aromatherapy. Oh, that's okay, so tell me why. Like, if we go up to our tiny castle up in Canada, which is off the grid, so I collect my water and I wash in the lake and I start my fire and make my bread and, on a wood stove. And poison ivy is going to give you a rash. Does that mean you're allergic to it? Like, come on. No, you're not allergic to it. It's the plant itself, right? And so normally, aromatherapy that does have high phenols in it will give you a rash because it's a hot caustic oil. So it's just understanding those. So yes, something is better than nothing, and sometimes not always the ones that are popular, like peppermint is probably 95% adulterated. Frankincense is. Lavender is probably 99% adulterated. So which one are you using?
Two questions that come to mind. It's just like, where do we get the unadulterated oils? And then the other is how, so there is probably an art to blending too. You can't just blend anything that smells good.
No, and you know, I've made some blends where I thought they were horrendous smell, because I'm not a lavender girl. I'm just not. I never liked lavender. And I felt that they weren't the best smell ever. They smell like dirty, rotten old socks. that Mom used to wrap around our throat when we had a cold. But the person who needs it thinks it smells wonderful. All right? So not all blends that you create for your body is going to, you think is going to stink. They may think it smells good. All right? So it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing it for the mind and body to, for insomnia or to elevate the mental health, which we know mental health nowadays, it's gone up 600% with the challenges that we are having. And we want to bring in the oils that are going to raise our vibration. And not all of them that smell great, like spikenard and to me, lavender is going to, for me, is not going to smell great. But lavender and geranium are adaptogenic. So you put them in the oil and cover them up with something else to make it smell better. I sell oils here at the office. I can send you a link for my distributor that's in Wisconsin. There's a number of them that you can go on the internet and they'll ship them to you. You call them up and talk with them. They're the ones that I trust, and I'll definitely, like Kelly Pure Oils out of Wisconsin, Essential 3 out of Oregon, I'm Canadian. And those are usually the places I go to. Now, I've recently gotten some beautiful oils from Australia. And Australia now has a government-controlled pact that the oils have a standard. Good, bad, or indifferent, they have that standard. When I was in the last meeting in England, they are looking at putting together different aromatherapists from around the world to be on a board so that we can set standards, and when people want to bring in the oils, they would ask those people on that board.
Which standards are reliable then? Because there are standards that, you know, that are pretty commercialized, and I mean, this is probably opening up a Pandora's box here for you, but just...
Yes.
Can I jump in and ask, ask more of a basic question? So, I mean,
okay.
You know, we were on Team doTERRA. We got signed up with them a while ago. Just, hey, here's, you know, the sales pitch. Okay, that sounds great, whatever. They smell good. I'm cool with that. But listening to you talk about these, you know, that, whatever, these, again, making the great point, these companies are in business to make money. They're not necessarily in business to make the cleanest, least adulterated oil possible. So as a layperson, obviously it's not practical for me to send all my oils to you and be like, hey, which ones are good, Deb, which ones aren't? So how do I know, and what can I look for to find the least adulterated oil and the highest quality?
That's a good question. As a lay person, if you can just take an hour and do some research on which oils are good. Now, I know that Young Living and doTERRA have been around for a very long time, right? And I also understand that there was some legality with both companies, and that the FDA has sued both of them. And now for me, as an essential oil snob,
Yep.
I want a higher vibration.
Yep.
I need for healing a higher vibration. Now their oils, because they brought in Dr. Robert Pappas, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He has his own university. He is the go-to to check oils. If you get an oil and say this oil isn't right, I'm going to send it to Dr. Pappas and have him test it. And I think it's like, I don't know, off the top of my head, I'm going to say $200, maybe $250 to test an oil. Because he runs it through his gas chromatograph, mass spectrograph.
Okay.
So you were going to ask that question, and so you take a drop, and it puts in it, the drop is put into this little part of this huge machine, and it reads the chemical constituents of the oil and what's in there.
Okay.
All right? Before they hired Dr. Pappas, they didn't have such great oils.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they have cleaned up their act, and they brought in some training, and they've removed some of the words that they were using and have got cleaner oils, they're still, for me, a low vibration.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know, once bitten, twice shy, right?
Right.
I want a higher vibrational oil. So if I'm going to use their oils and do their training, I've talked to some of their trainers. And maybe their trainers should be trained differently or in a wider extent if they're doing level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, so that the people are more well trained. So for me, it's vibration. I'm a vibration snob too. Sorry.
I feel like that this is also going to be a really great conversation perhaps for another time in terms of when we're talking about vibration. What is that really? And you know, what is that? How is that experienced, and how do we feel that? How do we recognize that? However, I know that time goes by so fast, and we have just, you know, about 8 minutes left together. And so I want us to highlight, because you're on a mission. The reason why you're on here speaking about aromatherapy is you're wanting others to know, and for Sam and me both, it's such a, you know, awakening too, in terms of how to be more mindful about our use of essential oils as well too. You're on a mission to bring this to others, and especially people who are considering teaching others how to use aromatherapy or coaching clients to use aromatherapy in their lives. So I'd like for you to share that mission, and how does that look right now for you?
Okay,
what does that look like?
I use aromatherapy throughout my entire practice. They come in, I have a diffuser. They do the brain tap, they're smelling an oil. We use the heart rate variability, they smell an oil, the before and after, and they see the difference. So for me, doing aromatherapy for 16 years now, I was led by God to go from one to many. And I didn't know how I was going to do that. So I created this course, the college, Holistic College of Quantum Wellness. And the mission for that is, I had to create a whole mission statement and whatnot, so that when people would ask, what is your mission? What are you doing? How do you do it? For me, my mission statement is to empower and create a high vibrancy of faith through developing a living relationship with the divine, emanating through our entire being, helping and guiding the public to make their own decisions concerning health, nutrition, and wellness for the mind, body, and spirit. And so with my course, I know, isn't that awesome?
Yes.
I love my mission.
Yes. So
I love my
beautiful.
mission.
Yes. Awesome.
For the course, there are 15 chapters, and in those chapters, each chapter has so many lessons. Like chapter 1, I think it has 4 lessons. And chapter 1 is all about the ancient history of aromatherapy. And before each lesson, I do an empowerment statement. I pulled out, I must have, 1,000 empowering statements in the course itself with every lesson. I open and close with one so that you have the energies, because it's faith-based. I have to say it's faith-based. I was raised Catholic, no longer Catholic. However, I still believe in the Christ consciousness and the high vibrational frequency of God. This is my passion. So each of the lessons, especially anatomy and physiology, there's 19 lessons in that chapter, and each of them are about what the body does and how it does it and what aromatherapy does. And you don't have to be someone who already knows aromatherapy. The course was designed for somebody who's just starting out and learn all the way through, and even chemistry. I have a little song I sing with my granddaughter about atoms, and I put that on there to show that chemistry is not that difficult if you don't get lost, right? And that's one of the things that most people get lost on in chemistry. But the basics, when you're done the entire course, you have done 15 chapters on your own online, and the 16th chapter is with me. It's a hands-on. Now, whether we can do it hands-on or not, who knows? I have some students now that are, I'm going to say, 3/4 of the way through, and you're going to learn 57 oils, in-depth, classified, from the classification of is it an alcohol, an ester, and you learn that way in the beginning, all the way down to its personality, the safety, because each essential oil has a personality. And how do we use which one when? For example, a lung cough, is it a wet cough? Is it a dry cough? Is it a wind cough? Right? How do we choose which aromatherapy to get the best results? And that's what this is all about. Which oil, which time.
Do you need a health background to be able to study, or can this be someone who is just getting into essential oils and just have seen such a great impact already and just feels called?
Yes, you do not need the anatomy aspect of it. I know we talk with our hands equals flying.
Yeah.
You do not need to know, because I go from the outside in, and then there's a whole psychoneuroimmunology course that goes from the inside out. There's also blending habits, the viscosity, the psychoneuroimmunology of it, and it's so beautiful. The course has taken me 4.5 years to write because of all my references, and it's really cool when you find that Battaglia in Australia, Dr. Battaglia, has a conflict with Dr. Tisserand. And you go, wait a minute, why is that? And so for me, it's like, oh, let's dig deeper and find out why. Why is there a conflict where one doc says one thing and another says another thing? So for me, it's about finding out more and putting it in the book. The conflicts are all there.
Beautiful. And so I just want to say, we're almost out of time, but I want to be able to say that it sounds like this is really perfect for practitioners, teachers, yoga teachers, or people who just feel called to work with more people, or even just applying it for yourself for deeper knowledge, just who can be an essential oil snob like yourself.
I love that. Like-minded people.
Like-minded people. But Sam, you wanted to say something?
Sure, I just have one more quick question. This will probably be the hardest question of the day, but do you have a favorite oil, knowing so much?
Yes.
Well, I do have to say, Neroli is one. I love Neroli. It blends very well. It's a high vibration, and it's very rare that it's adulterated. The other one would probably be frankincense Qatari, because of its uses on the emmenagogue and catarrh and antiviral, antibacterial, and probably Mei Chung.
Never heard of that one.
No, I haven't.
It's absolutely beautiful. I used it on a patient last night, and he was feeling down and had some darkness and was stuck in life. And so the Mei Chung is a light, lemony yet very in-depth essential oil, and the uses are beautiful: antiviral, antibacterial, vermifuge. It's just anti-inflammatory. So it brought light into his body.
Amazing.
So he felt very good after the use of it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we have to. I wish we could just stay all day and talk some more.
I know,
I'm
right?
learning so much. You're such a wealth of knowledge. How can our listeners find you on social media and your
Okay,
website?
so I'm not on social media a lot. Actually, I just checked before you came. It's like, oh, there's a message from June 4th. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm so busy writing my book right now on the aromatherapy and for the course that I don't check social media often. But they can follow me. I'll do like a word of wisdom every once in a while at Deborah Zuff. They just look for Deborah with no O but with an H, Debrah, Zuff, Zepf, not an H. They can go to my website at drzuff.com, and that's where my blend of essential oils when I did my PhD, they're all there. The 7 oils for the chakras, which I use for brain tap. Or the office is Rooted in Health, ROOTEDINHEALTH.com. So the website's Rooted in Health, Dr. Zeff, and the college one is holisticcollege.org or .com. And if they're really interested in the course, I think what I'll do today is that I will let them know that they're emailing me from you, that they saw me on your show, and I'll give them $2,000 off the course.
Wow, that is such a gift. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Yes, I want to spread the word, right?
Yes.
God asked me to go from one to many, so how do I do that?
Absolutely. Beautiful. We will be sure to update all the information that you just shared also on our Facebook Live on Wild and Precious Optimal Living. And then we will make sure wherever we see it posted to make sure Dr. Zuff's information is available. Holisticcollege.com. So holistic is with a W, WHOLISTIC, college.com or .org. So we are so grateful for the show. We have some really great guests coming in, and we learn so much each time, right, Dr. Sam?
Always.
Yeah, and so what's the one question we love to ask everybody before we end the show?
Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? We'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Yes. Thank you.
For me, I believe being directly connected with the divine, letting my ears be open so I can hear the vibrational frequency. I can hear and letting my eyes be open to feel and see and watch all the miracles that happen every day, even in this darkness, and keeping the light. Let's be the light. Why not? Who else is going to do it, right?
Right.
Come on, stand up.
Yeah.
Be the light.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Deborah. It's a pleasure to be able to have you on the show, and we look forward to our next show, and everybody have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. God bless.